Hello, my lovely friends. Hi, guys. Welcome to a session on the rules of the road. So, here we are going to look at all the rules of the road up until we finish. I will then encourage you guys to go and practice the rules of the road after this session. I've noticed that people who watch my videos here, you guys don't want to subscribe, and I don't know why. Just click on the subscribe button. Imagine you find a video with 20,000 views, but no followers, no subscribers. Fork, subscribe there. All right, let's get into it. All right, so today we are looking at the rules of the road. The rules of the road. That's what I want us to look at. So I'm hoping I'll be able to cover everything in one go. But if I'm not able to do that, we will cover it in two parts. Rules of the road. So I'll start reading here. I'll start by reading this there. Okay. The rules of the road are set in place to regulate traffic and to ensure safety. These rules are compulsory, and compliance with these road traffic laws greatly reduces the possibility of accidents, injury, or deaths on the roads. Okay, these are the rules of the road. The rules of the road. So if everyone just followed the rules of the road, would be safe. There'll be no accidents. There'll be no accidents because the rules of the road are just there to regulate traffic, to ensure that everyone is safe. But people are not following the rules of the road. So now let's get to see the general rules. General rules. All vehicles must have a clearly visible and valid license disc, which is 12 months from the date of issue. 12 months from the date of issue. That is the license disc of your vehicle. So 12 months. I always say this, you must not confuse the 12 months with the 24 months. There is 24 months for your there's 24 months for your learner's license. The learner's license is valid for a period of 24 months, but the license disc of the vehicle is valid for a period of 12 months. 24 months for learners, 12 months for the license disc of your vehicle. So you must never ever confuse the two. All right, and then now we get to the following distance. They say here, maintain a safe following distance as part of maintaining a clear space around your vehicle. Maintain a safe following distance as part of maintaining a clear space around your vehicle. So look, you have vehicle A, and let's say you have vehicle B there. So there must be a safe following distance. So you must keep a significant amount of space here as your following distance. The following distance helps you here, my friend. If this vehicle A, let me choose a different color. Vehicle A, if vehicle A suddenly stops, and you as vehicle B there, if this vehicle A suddenly stops, you as vehicle B, you should be able to also stop. Perhaps you stop here without swerving. Swerving meaning driving to the side of this vehicle, trying to avoid hitting it. So that means you are keeping a self-following distance. Because if you are going to stop by swerving, trying to avoid hitting the vehicle, then you are not keeping the safe following distance. So the safe following distance talks about that, keeping a significant amount of space between the vehicle you are following and you. All right, that's the safe following distance. So the safe following distance is then explained as 2 seconds for light motor vehicles. Light motor vehicles, it's 2 seconds. Then they say it's 3 seconds for heavy motor vehicles. 3 seconds for heavy motor vehicles and 2 seconds for light motor vehicles. So, so it's not normally given in, terms of the distance, in terms of like meters and stuff, but it's given like this. However, when you go to your test, you'll be asked, you have options such as, the question would be like, the say following distance is when the vehicle in front of you suddenly stops and you are able to, you, my friend, will go with the option which says that you are able to stop without swerving. If you are able to stop without swerving, then you are keeping a safe following distance. Okay. Then you increase the distance when the visibility is poor, when you are driving in wet conditions, when you are traveling fast, when you are carrying a heavy load, and when you are traveling on a loose surface. Then that's when you increase the distance. When we're talking about increasing the distance, we're talking about, let's say, initially, this is the distance that you were keeping. Okay, this is too little. Let's say initially you were keeping this distance. Okay, this one. So when the visibility is poor, when you're driving in wet conditions, when you're traveling fast, and when carrying a heavy load, and when you're traveling on loose surface, you increase the distance under these conditions. All right, you increase. That means now maybe you might be following another vehicle at a distance like this. Then this is still a safe following distance. Very important. Okay. Now let's go to the mirrors. The mirrors of your vehicle. They say that ensure that all mirrors are adjusted correctly so that you have a clear view. If you need to adjust the mirrors, you may only do this when the vehicle is stationary. The mirrors of your vehicle, you must ensure that are adjusted correctly. And you do not adjust the mirrors of your vehicle when the vehicle is in motion. You adjust them when the vehicle is stationary. When the vehicle is stationary, that's when you can adjust the mirrors of your vehicle. And then they say here, every 5 to 8 seconds glance in all the mirrors to check the situation behind or to the sides of the vehicle. So when we're talking about 5 to 8 seconds, we do not necessarily mean that you must go around having a timer, timing yourself. Is it 5 seconds? Let me check my mirrors. No, but this talks to how often you should check the mirrors of your vehicle. Okay? When you are driving. When approaching a potential hazard, check in the mirrors in case you need to signal a change in direction. Check in the mirrors in case you need to signal a change in direction. You need to signal a change in direction. You check in your mirrors. Let's say you're approaching a potential hazard. Let me explain this further. Let me say this is your road, okay, divided like this. Say maybe there's a big pothole there. There's a big pothole. So this then is a hazard. You are driving here, going that direction. Then you see this pothole there. You're like, hey, there's a pothole. Before you switch lanes, you change direction, right? You switch lanes. Before you switch lanes, you must check your mirrors so that you signal your change in direction. I'm about to enter this lane now. Okay? Perfect. Now let's go on to checking the blind spot. The blind spot. Before changing direction, turn your head to the appropriate side to check in the areas that are not visible in the mirrors, and those are referred to as blind spots. So you must turn your head to check in. You turn your head to the appropriate side to check in the areas that are not visible in the mirrors. Those areas are referred to as blind spots. Listen, my friend, listen. Let me explain the blind spot. Here's your road again. Divided like this, okay? And then, this is your vehicle. And this is the mirror of your vehicle. and that is your other mirror of your vehicle. So the mirrors of your vehicle will see this yellow path. This yellow path is what you will see from your mirrors. And you also have this rear view mirror, this one. This rear view mirror will show you here. Okay? So you see, the yellow path is what is covered by your mirrors. Your mirror, my friend, will not cover this area. Nor will it cover this area. So these two areas is what we call blind spots. Blind spot, okay? This then will be your blind spot because it's not covered by your mirrors. So what do? You turn your head to check there. You turn your head to check there. All right, you just turn your head. That's it. Very easy like that. Yeah. Okay, now let's move on to the maximum speed limits. So listed here are the maximum speed limits, general speed limits. So roads in urban areas, the maximum speed limit is 60 for roads in urban areas. Roads outside urban areas, it's 100. On freeways, the maximum speed limit on freeways is 120. Okay, and then goods vehicles with a mass exceeding 9,000 kgs on roads outside urban areas, it's 80 kilometers per hour. A bus or taxi carrying passengers exceeding 3,500 kgs, the maximum speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour. All right. And then there is an important note there. Important. A road sign that indicated a different speed limit from the general speed limit guide below takes precedence. So if you have a road sign, that indicates a different speed limit from these ones, it takes precedence. So say for instance you are driving in roads in urban areas. The maximum speed limit is 60, right? The maximum speed limit is 60. So if you then see another speed limit which is like 30, but in urban areas, it takes precedence. If you're driving in roads outside urban areas and the maximum speed limit there shown there on that road, on that section of the roadway, they say maybe it's 45, it takes precedence. That's what this point is talking about. Okay. Right. And then we go down to driving on divided roads. The rules with regards to driving on divided roads. All right. When a painted marking or physical barrier divides a road, always stay on the left of the division. You are only allowed to cross this division if there is an opening or space allocated for this action. Now, you must understand that it is a rule violation to drive across a solid dividing marking. You may only drive across a broken dividing marking to overtake another vehicle or to make a U-turn. Understand that? Of course, yes, you understand. Listen, this one, if I can talk on this one first, is the one which then your question on your test, they will ask you, what is the most important rule of the road in South Africa? What is the most important rule of the road in South Africa? My friends, you must always remember that the most important rule of the road in South Africa is that you must keep left. That is the most important rule of the road in South Africa. Keep left. So the first point there simply talks about that. It simply talks about that. And then when we go on, then we talk about these divisions. This division, this one, and that one. These four, you may not cross them. You are not allowed to cross them. You may only cross them if there is a space allocated for this action of crossing. The only division that you may cross is this one, the broken dividing marking. If you want to make a U-turn or if you want to overtake another vehicle. That's what these 4 points are covering. Okay, now we then go down to the rules with regards to overtaking. The rules with regards to overtaking. Do not overtake if overtaking is prohibited by a road sign or marking. Do not overtake a vehicle that is stopped at a pedestrian crossing. When overtaking a vehicle on the same direction on a narrow road, pass right and keep a safe following distance. Overtake on the right and keep a safe following distance. Then they say, do not drive on the right-hand side of the roadway in the face of oncoming traffic. You don't drive facing oncoming traffic. You may not overtake if there is oncoming traffic. Or you just don't drive facing oncoming traffic, okay? Right. You know, isn't that you know that you must keep left? Keep as far left as possible. Do not drive on the shoulder or verge of the road when overtaking. Do not overtake on a blind rise, curve, or any other area where your view of the road ahead is limited. Where your view of the road ahead is limited. Okay. Right. It's simple and straightforward, this one. Simple and straightforward. All right. Now we come to overtaking on the left. Overtaking on the left. If it is safe to do so, you may overtake on the left when the vehicle ahead of you is turning right or has indicated to turn right, when the road is a one-way, when there is wide enough for 2 or more lanes for traffic moving in the same direction, when you are instructed by a traffic officer. Do not cross the yellow left edge line in order to overtake on the left. Do not cross the yellow left edge line in order to overtake on the left. Okay, so straightforward. When are you allowed to overtake on the left? When the vehicle ahead of you is turning right or when it has indicated to turn right. When the road is a one-way. One-way, what do we mean? All vehicles are going in one direction. There is no vehicle that is going in opposite direction. All vehicles are going in one direction. When there is wide enough for 2 or more lanes for traffic moving in the same direction. And then, my friend, every time when you see instructed by a traffic officer, when you see this option, it will always be correct. Always. When you are instructed to do something by a traffic officer, regardless of the sign or of the rule of the road, the rules of the traffic officer takes precedence. Okay. And then you don't cross the yellow line when you are overtaking on the left. You don't cross the yellow line. Yes, you may overtake on the left if there is enough space, if the vehicle in front of you is turning right or has indicated to turn right. But just remember, you may not touch the yellow line. You don't cross the yellow line, okay? Now we come to passing oncoming vehicles. When passing oncoming traffic, you may not pass right onto oncoming traffic. You do not pass right facing oncoming traffic, okay? You may not overtake facing oncoming traffic. Being overtaken. When being overtaken, move over safely to the left to allow other vehicles to pass. Do not accelerate until the other vehicle has passed. Do not accelerate until the other vehicle has passed. Okay, sharp. Now we go down to being overtaken on a freeway. Being overtaken on a freeway. If the driver behind you indicates his desire to overtake by flashing the headlights, signal to move over if it is safe to do so. Do not hog the right lane even if you are traveling at a designated speed limit. Guys, listen. If you are driving the fast lane and the person behind you flashes the lights to say, hey, I want to move, the rule says that you must move to the next lane. If it is safe, you don't hog the right lane. Even if you are traveling at 120 kilometers per hour, because that is the maximum speed limit allowed in South Africa on the freeway, even if you are traveling at 120 kilometers per hour, you don't hog the right lane. You must move to the next lane. Allow the person to overtake you. Then if he gets a speed fine, he will get a speed fine, right? And then road shoulders. You may not drive on the shoulder of the road to the left of the yellow edge line or to the right of the white edge line. You may not drive ku shoulder of the road. Ehlombe lomgwaqo. You may not. But there are exceptions. Exceptions. You may drive to the left of the yellow edge line to allow another vehicle to overtake if it is a single lane roadway, if it's in between sunrise and sunset, if it won't endanger any road users or property, if you can clearly see any person or persons, vehicle or vehicles for at least 150 meters ahead. These are the conditions where you are allowed to overtake where you are allowed to drive on the yellow line. Here, when do you drive here, yellow line? You want to allow another person to overtake you. But if the person wants to overtake you, where? If it is a single lane roadway. This, my friend, is a single lane roadway because one lane is going there, one lane is coming back. Therefore, this one is then regarded as a single lane roadway. If it's in between sunrise and sunset, if it's during the day, it's during the day. If it won't endanger any road users or property, if you can clearly see any person or persons, vehicle or vehicles for at least 150 meters ahead, then you can drive on the yellow line. Okay, and then let's go down to dedicated public transport lanes. Dedicated public transport lanes. Do not drive in a lane dedicated for public transport or rapid transport vehicles from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., 4 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, except in public holidays, unless you are driving a permitted class of vehicles. So, bus lane, you don't drive there. 6 to 9 ekseni, 4 to 6:30 ntambama. You don't drive during those times, unless public holidays. Okay. All right. And then we come to traffic lanes. So they say here, you may not enter or cross a road traffic lane if your vehicle is likely to cause a dangerous situation or cause traffic flow. Do not cross into a different lane unless you can do so without obstructing or endangering other traffic. So this one, I feel like it's more of like a common sense. Like you see, but then common sense is not common sometimes. But if you see that you are going to cause danger, you are going to obstruct traffic, one would say that it's common sense to say, I am not going to go there. But the fact that they're right here is because common sense is not common. You know that. There's a saying that says that, right? Okay, so you must follow these rules. Then we come to traffic circles. You have a roundabout and a mini circle. Now they're saying at a roundabout, you must yield right of way to all traffic approaching from the right, unless there is a road sign or traffic officer instructing otherwise. And then at a mini circle, give way to any vehicle that will cross or that has crossed any yield line before you. Drive clockwise around, but not over the marking. Drive clockwise around, but not over the marking. Drive clockwise. Okay. Right, now let's move on to let me finish up here. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button there so that you don't miss out. Okay, driving signals. You must always indicate your intention to change direction, to reduce speed, or to stop. You indicate clearly to be seen by other road users using indicators, stoplights, hand signals. Guys, you must always indicate your intention. You always indicate, because when you are driving, When you are indicating, you are not indicating for yourself, because you already know that you are about to do this. You already know you are about to do that. But so you are indicating for the person behind you, the person in front of you, so that they know of your intention. You intend to turn, you intend to stop, you intend to do what? You must always indicate. Okay. Right. And then we have hand signal. We have hand signals. If you want to hand signal, you see. So you have a stop. If you are stopping, your hand should be like that. Slowing down, your hand is like that. Overtaking, your hand is like that. And then right turn, your hand is like that. Left turn, your hand is like that. And left turn for a motorcycle, you see that. So, but it's very important, this one, my lovely friends. Very important to note that hand signals may not be used on a freeway. On the freeway, make sure you do not use hand signals on the freeway. You do not use hand signals on the freeway. All right, now let's go down to this one. Turning at an intersection. Turning at an intersection. Do not turn unless you can do so without obstructing or endangering other traffic. Obey yellow mandatory direction arrow markings. Move in accordance with white marking indicating yellow mandatory direction arrows. You do not turn unless you can do so without obstructing other traffic. Again, at an intersection, if you see that you are going to obstruct other traffic, you may not turn there. You must obey yellow mandatory direction arrow markings, these ones. You must always obey them. Okay? Move in accordance with these ones. So the white markings, these ones, they are telling you that ahead you'll find the yellow ones. And once you get to the yellow ones, if you are in this lane, you must turn left. If you are here, you must continue straight or turn left. You must continue straight. You must continue straight or turn. You see, it's mandatory, these ones. Mandatory direction arrow markings. Okay? Then, now let's go on to the rules with regards to turning left. Turning left. Before turning left, indicate in good time and keep as close as possible to the left side of the road. After turning, adjust your speed to match safely into the flow of the traffic. Adjust your speed to match safely into the flow of the traffic. To match safely into the flow of the traffic. You indicate in good time. You don't indicate here just because you are turning here. You indicate in good time while you are still going. You indicate, hey, I'm going to turn ahead. I'm going to turn. Right? You don't indicate here and you are turning here. That is nonsensical. Fuck. All right. Now let's go. Turning right. Turning right. Before turning right, indicate in good time and keep as close as possible to the right side of the road. Before turning, yield right of way to any traffic approaching ahead. Before starting turning into a two-way road, cross the center line so that you turn into the left side of the road. And as you turn, pass left of any traffic island or traffic officer controlling the intersection. Okay? Simple and straightforward. Follow the rules. Remember, guys, what's nice with the video is that you can always stop, rewind. It's rewind, right? Rewind, go back and listen again over and over and over again. Right. And then now we come to the rules with regards to parking. Parking. Always park within a demarcated bay and never on a sidewalk or verge. If illegally parked, a fine will be issued or the vehicle can be impounded. Emergency, rescue, and construction vehicles or traffic officers are not subject to these rules if they are being used on duty. You may park on the right side of a one-way road provided the outer edges of the right side wheels are not more than 450 millimeters into the roadway. These rules are very important. Let me erase this so that you can see them properly. Always park within a demarcated bay. So you always park your vehicle where it's allocated, where it's demarcated parking. You don't just park on the sidewalk or on the pavement, rather. If your car has been illegally parked, you'll get a fine, my friend, or the vehicle can be impounded. Now, emergency, rescue, and construction vehicles or traffic officers are not subject to these rules if they are being used on duty. You may park on the right side of a one-way road provided the outer edges of the right side wheels are not more than 450 millimeters into the roadway. Right. Cool. Now we come to these two tables that are very, very, very important. Okay. Parking distances guide. No stopping in, on, or closer 9 meters from what? A pedestrian crossing. 6 meters from a tunnel, a subway, a bridge, a constricted road. Very important. Very, 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 very important. All right. And then now we then come to no parking closer than what? 5 meters from an intersection, 1.5 meters from a fire hydrant on either side of it, 1 meter from the road edge outside an urban area unless in a demarcated bay. Okay, and then I'm gonna close it off with other no parking places, and then we are going to continue on another session with the rest of the rules of the road. So I'm closing it off with this one. Okay. Other no stopping places. In any no stopping area, in a parking bay reserved for the exclusive use of particular class of vehicles or vehicle, where you would obscure a roadside, on a pavement or sidewalk, across a private or public vehicle entrance, over the actuating mechanism of a traffic light in an urban area, within the outer edges of the curbside wheels more than 450 millimeters into the roadway, in an urban road that is less than 5.5 meters wide, unless it is a one-way road, on a traffic island or pedestrian lane or mall. Okay, these are all the places where you may not park your vehicle. All right, so these symbols A, B, L, L, T, F, blah, 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 those are exclusive vehicle symbols. Exclusive vehicle symbols. Okay, please make sure that you are subscribed here. Just click on that subscribe button, please. Stopping on the road. So they're saying here, you may not stop on the road unless you are instructed to do so by a traffic officer or to avoid an accident. So you don't just decide to stop in the road and you stop. You only do that when you are instructed by a traffic officer or you are obeying the road sign, obeying the road sign, or you are trying to avoid an accident. Okay, so those are the conditions that will make you to stop on the road. And then we have other no stopping places. Where else are you not allowed to stop your vehicle? Next to or opposite an excavation if this obstructs traffic flow, in a tunnel, subway, or a bridge, on the right side of the road facing oncoming traffic, next to or opposite another vehicle where the road is 9 meters wide, within a railway reserve at a level crossing, where you would cause an obstruction or danger to traffic, on a painted island, and on a freeway. So these are all the places where you are not allowed to stop your vehicle. Okay. Now let's go down to compulsory stops. Compulsory stops. Where is it compulsory for you to stop your vehicle? It's compulsory for you to stop your vehicle if you are directed to do so by a traffic officer, road sign, traffic light, or farm animal. Okay, but obviously, farm animal, a cow will not come in and come on the road and say stop your vehicle. Okay, but if you are driving and then a cow is on the road, you stop for the cow until it finishes crossing the road. Or if maybe there's someone who's hurting the animals, and that person asks you to stop, you stop. Okay, you stop. It's compulsory for you to stop. And then we come to another point. It's compulsory for you to stop for pedestrians on or entering a pedestrian crossing on your side. If you are involved in an accident, it's compulsory for you to stop. And then we come to pedestrians right of way at a pedestrian crossing. So now here they're saying where a pedestrian crossing is situated next to a traffic light, they must cross according to the signal on the traffic light. The pedestrians must cross according to the signal on the traffic light. Drivers must yield right of way by slowing down or stopping for a pedestrian who is on or entering a pedestrian crossing on your side. Okay? Drivers should stop. Should yield right of way by slowing down or stopping for a pedestrian who is on or entering a pedestrian crossing on your side. So you must always be willing to stop, allowing the pedestrian to cross the road. Do not overtake a vehicle that is stopped at a pedestrian crossing. Pedestrians do not have the right to enter a pedestrian crossing suddenly, so that an approaching vehicle has to stop suddenly and unsafely. Pedestrians should cross the road at crossings only or at a distance more than 50 meters from the crossing. Okay. Simple and straightforward. Simple and straightforward. Remember, watching a video means that you can be able to just go back and listen to it again. Even if maybe you did not hear me very well, you can always go back and re-listen or re-watch. Okay, now we come to the rules with regards to towing. The rules with regards to towing. They're saying here, the first point, the distance between the two vehicles may not exceed 3.5 meters. If it is more than 1.8 meters, there must be a clearly visible red flag tied to it. So, between the towing and the towed vehicle, towing and a towed vehicle, okay, between these vehicles, the distance between them should not be more than 3.5 meters. Okay? Whether you're using a tow bar, a rope, or a chain. And then they say a licensed driver must control the towed vehicle unless a controlled towing device tows the vehicle. A licensed driver. So it must be someone with a driver's license. A licensed driver must tow the vehicle. The towed vehicle must have efficient brakes unless towed by a drop bar or a tow bar. The towed vehicle must have efficient brakes. The brakes of that vehicle should be working, okay? Unless, if it's not working, it must be towed by what? A drop bar or a tow bar. And then when towing, the maximum speed is 30 kilometers per hour unless you are towing by means of a solid bar. So if you are towing a vehicle with a rope or a chain, you cannot exceed 30 kilometers per hour. You may not carry passengers in the towed vehicle unless such vehicle is a semi-trailer. Unless such vehicle is a semi-trailer. Okay. And then towing on a freeway without a solid bar is unlawful if the freeway has a minimum speed of 30 kilometers per hour. Towing a vehicle on a freeway without a solid bar is unlawful unless you are using... it's unlawful, especially if the freeway has the minimum speed of 30 kilometers per hour. Because remember, if you don't have a solid bar, you cannot exceed 30 kilometers per hour. Okay, you cannot exceed 30 kilometers per hour. Now, we go down to light motor vehicles and heavy motor vehicle lights. When using any light or heavy motor vehicle on a public road, all lamps must be undamaged, unobscured, properly secured, and capable of being lit at all times. The headlamps, rear lamps, and number plate lamps must be kept lit during the period between sunset and sunrise. At any other time when due to insufficient light or unfavorable weather conditions, whereby persons and vehicles upon the public road are not clearly discernible at a distance of 150 meters. Very simple and straightforward. The lamps of your vehicle should be in a good condition and in a condition that they, they are capable of being lit at all times. Should conditions be poor and you need to drive your vehicle the whole day with your lights on, though those lamps, they should be in such a condition that you can be able to do that. And then from when the sun sets until it rises, you switch on your lights. Okay? But provided that these provisions shall not apply to a motor vehicle which is parked. Parked how? Off the roadway of a public road, in a parking place demarcated by an appropriate road traffic sign, within a distance of 12 meters from a lit street lamp illuminating the road on which such vehicle is parked. Okay? So these are the conditions whereby it's not compulsory for you to switch on your lights. Okay. All right. And then now we come to these main beams, dipped beams, parking lamps, rear lamps. All of these, it should not be a problem. Should not be a problem for you, because you are definitely going to be shown these when you are going for your driving lessons. When you start your driving lessons, your instructor should do justice in showing you these things. Okay. So now they're saying here, main beams must emit a white light enabling the driver to see any person or vehicle or object at a distance of at least 100 meters. Remember to turn off the bright light if there is oncoming vehicles approaching or following another vehicle. Remember to turn off the bright light if you are following another vehicle. But the most important thing under the main beams, phecelezi bright, is that it should illuminate the road at least 100 meters ahead. You should see at least 100 meters ahead. Okay. And then we come to dipped beams. Dipped beams. Your dipped beams should cover 45 meters. That's what you should focus on. 45 meters. Okay. And then the parking lamps. A vehicle may not be driven on a public road with only parking lamps lit while such vehicle is in motion. Okay. You don't drive your vehicle with your parking lamps on. Okay. With your parking lamps on. And then the rear lamps. You may not drive or ride any vehicle on a public road without a rear lamp emitting a red light fitted. You must make sure that you have the rear lamps. The rear lamps. Okay. Then we come to stop lamps. You may not drive a light motor vehicle or motorcycle on a public road unless it is fitted with stop lamps at the rear. When in use, they must emit a red light which must be greater than that of the light emitted by the rear lamps and must be visible in normal sunlight at a distance of 30 meters. Okay, let me explain this. They say no vehicle may be driven on a public road with no stop lamps or brake lights. Okay, so the stop lamps should illuminate the road. Should be brighter in a way that in normal sunlight you can see them while you are 30 meters away. 30 meters away in normal sunlight. Okay. And then we come to the number plate lamp. The number plate lamp. They're saying here, you may not drive a motor vehicle on a public road unless it is fitted with at least one number plate lamp at the rear, illuminating the number plate in such a way that every letter and figure must be visible from a distance of 20 meters by a person of normal eyesight. By a person of 20 meters by a person of normal eyesight. By a person of normal eyesight. Okay. All right. And then the fog lamps. The fog lamps. The fog lamps. So, your fog lamps, you have the front fog lamps and the rear fog lamps. No vehicle may be driven on a public road while any fog lamp fitted to such vehicle is lit, except in conditions of poor visibility caused by snow, fog, mist, dust, or smoke. Okay, and then you have your spot lamp. A motor vehicle may not be used on a public road if it is fitted with a spot lamp, which can be so adjusted as to enable a beam of light to emit from it and be deflected in any direction. Okay, right. Remember, I said you will be shown all of these things when you go for your driving lessons. When you go for your driving lessons, your driving instructor should tell you all of these. For now, we are not going to touch the motorcycle lights, and then we are going to jump straight to what is not allowed on freeways. What is not allowed on freeways. All right, so animal-drawn vehicles, bicycles, motorcycles with an engine capacity of 50cc or less, electrically powered motorcycles with a mass of 230 kgs or less. For example, used by people with disabilities, motor tricycles or quad bikes, tractors unless used for roadworks. Pedestrians are not allowed on freeways unless they are in an area demarcated for stopping or parking. Animals are not allowed on a freeway unless inside a vehicle or within an area demarcated for stopping or parking. So all of these users are not allowed on the freeway under those conditions, some of them. Okay, right. And then you cannot stop on the freeway except, okay, so you have these conditions. You cannot stop on the freeway except when you are instructed to do so by a traffic officer in an area demarcated for stopping or parking, or in an emergency. So these are the conditions whereby you may stop on the freeway when you're instructed to do so by a traffic officer, in an area demarcated for stopping or parking, and in an emergency, or we can say unless the situation is beyond your control. Right. Okay, and then we have an important note, very important to note, that hand signals may not be used on a freeway unless in an emergency. These restrictions obviously do not apply to maintenance, construction workers, or emergency crews on duty. Okay, and then we come to the learner drivers on freeways. A learner driver may drive on a freeway only if a licensed driver accompanies them. This is very good news. This one. That as a learner driver, you may drive on the freeway only if you are accompanied by a properly licensed driver. Okay. A properly licensed driver. Hold on, guys. I want to charge my device. I want to charge my iPad. Whoa. Okay, perfect. Let's continue. Okay, and then vehicles causing excessive noise. You may not operate a vehicle that is too noisy or that has accessories that are too noisy. Use of a hooter. No person shall use the hooter of a vehicle except when such use is necessary on the grounds of safety. No person shall use the hooter of a vehicle except when such use is necessary on the grounds of safety. So now with your hooter, you may not use a light motor vehicle on a public road unless it is equipped with a warning device, otherwise known as a hooter, which is in good working order. When used, it must be capable of emitting a sound which is clearly audible by a person of normal hearing. from a distance of 90 meters. The very important thing here is that your hooter should cover 90 meters. So 90 meters. 90 meters. Okay. Hindering or obstructing traffic. You may not hinder or interrupt the free flow of traffic on a public road. You may not do that. You may not do that. You may not do that. All right. And then we then go down to another one. All right. We now go to another page whereby we're covering the general duties of drivers and passengers. General duties of drivers and passengers. And what are they saying here? The driver must be seated to maintain control of the driver must be seated to maintain control of the vehicle and have a clear view of the road ahead. Okay? And as the driver, you may not travel backwards further than is necessary. You may not follow another vehicle too closely. You may not allow another person or animal to interfere with your control of the vehicle. You may not allow another person to steer. You may not leave the vehicle unattended without setting the parking brake or using alternative methods to prevent the vehicle from moving. So, you must make sure that before you leave your vehicle, you have your handbrake up or you use alternative methods to prevent your vehicle from moving. You may not allow any portion of your passenger's body to stick out of the vehicle except for hand signals. You may not run the engine if it is giving off excessive smokes or fumes. You may not run the engine while fuel is being pumped or if the fuel tank cap is off. You must not leave the engine running if the vehicle is unattended. You may not deposit fuel, grease, oil, or any other flammable matter or refuse onto or alongside the road. You may not allow passengers to get on or off while the vehicle is moving. You may not drive, pull or push a vehicle onto a pavement. You may not fail to give way to emergency vehicles. You may not operate a communication device, cell phone or two-way radio. You must use a hands-free or headset. You may use a hands-free or headset. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Now we go to abandoned vehicles. Abandoned vehicles. A vehicle will be considered abandoned when? Okay, firstly, vehicles abandoned on a public road or in a place may be removed and impounded. The owner is liable for all the costs. The vehicle may not be sold to settle these costs. All right? If the vehicle has been abandoned, it will be towed away. It will be removed. All right? So listen, abandoned vehicles include the following. Vehicle obstructing other traffic or standing in a way to cause potential danger. When the vehicle has been left for more than 24 hours in the same place on a non-urban road. Left more than 7 days in a public road or testing station. Found on a public road without a number plate or false number plate. Found without any means of identifying the owner. Parked on a no stopping or parking area. These are the conditions. But I want you to focus more on this one. 24 hours in the same place on a non-urban public road. Okay? 7 days on the same place on a public urban road. The public urban road is 7 days. 24 hours is non-urban public road. So the non-urban public road is 24 hours. The public urban road is 7 days. So this non-urban, sometimes they call it rural. So you must not be confused when they say rural road. Rural road. So when they talk of a rural road, They mean the non-urban public road. Okay. So I'm doing this so that you do not get into your testing room and then you say, I didn't know. Mr. Falk didn't teach me this. Okay. Right. Um now now let's get to damage on public roads. You may not drag or spin You may not drag or spin the wheels of a vehicle on the surface of the road. You may not use shocks or shoes between the wheels and the road. So anything that will cause damage on the road is not allowed. Anything that will cause damage on the road is not allowed. And then we come to the tires of your vehicle. The tread pattern must be clearly visible and have a depth of not less than 1 millimeter across the tire's entire width and circumference. Okay, the tread pattern of your tire, should be should be great. But the most important thing here is that the depth of the tread pattern, it's 1 millimeter. When they talk about the depth of the tread pattern, depth 1 millimeter, those are the keywords that you need to remember. 1 millimeter. Okay. And then the side walls must not have deep cuts and inner cores should not be visible. The tire should not be on such a state of disrepair or condition that they may cause damage to the road or be a danger. And then buses and taxis operating with a license issued by the Department of Transport must be fitted with commercial steel radar applied tires, and the steerable wheels must be fitted with anti-burst stabilizer devices. Okay, right. Right. That's it. Then now we go down to seatbelts. Seatbelts are compulsory to wear when in a moving vehicle. And then they say a child is defined as a person between the ages of 3 and 14 years, except when such person is taller than 1.5 meters. Then he or she is regarded as an adult, irrespective of age. The person older than 14 years is defined as an adult. Okay, I'm going to pass the helmet. It's for the tutu, it's for the scooter. I'm going to pass it. And then I come to convoys. Traveling in a convoy. Vehicles may not travel in convoy over weekends, long weekends, and 2-day holidays, 25th and 26th of December, during 6 p.m. the night before the weekend or holiday starts, until 6 a.m. the morning after the weekend or holiday. So you may not travel in a convoy. Traveling in a convoy, it's your vehicle, your auntie's vehicle. Your auntie's vehicle, your friend's vehicle. You see, this is a convoy. You are traveling in a convoy. That is what we mean by a convoy. That is a convoy. A convoy. All right. And then they're saying here, when we come to animals on public roads. Animals that are not under the control of someone are not allowed on public roads or in a place they may stray into public. The people controlling animals on a public road must carry a warning at least 150 meters ahead and beyond the herd as follows. Sunset to sunrise, a red light. Sunrise to sunset, a 300 millimeter square red flag. The warning flag will always be 300 millimeter square red flag. So that means it's 300 by 300. It's a square, right? All right. And then we go down to emergency triangles. They're saying here, if there are less than 10 animals, only one light or flag is required. Okay? Then we come to emergency triangles. At least one double-sided reflective triangle, SAPS approved, must be carried at all times. If the vehicle is broken down or stationary on a public road, The triangle must be displayed at least 45 meters from the rear of the vehicle. From the rear of the vehicle. All right. And then let's go down to unauthorized use of a hooter. Unauthorized use of a hooter. No one may drive, occupy, tamper with a vehicle without the owner's permission. You may not be busy in my vehicle without my permission. It is illegal to change a vehicle's engine or chassis number without prior written consent of the registering authority. If a vehicle collides with a pedestrian, the driver will be prosecuted irrespective of who had right of way. Okay? Right. And then we come to racing and sport. You may not conduct a race or sports meeting on a public road without the consent of the MEC or relevant local authority, or with a modified vehicle that does not meet the specifications of the manufacturer's SAPS. Okay, so that's it, guys. And then now we are drawing towards an end of our session. Then I'm passing the additional rules for motorcycles, passing for carrying loads on motorcycles, and this is the most important part. When people are saying rules of the road are difficult, it's because of this part. Okay, carrying loads on a motor vehicle. No part of a load may touch the road surface. The load must be securely fastened or be inside the vehicle without hindering the driver's control or view of the road ahead. So now this is it. This is it. You may leave that part. This is where you need to focus more and make sure that you know your story when you come here. Okay. All right. Loads may not extend more than 300 millimeters beyond the front and 1.8 meters beyond the rear. 300 millimeters beyond the front, 1.8 meters beyond the rear. 4.3 meters high from the ground on goods vehicle. So that means if this is your road, from the ground going up should not be more than 4.3 meters. Okay. And then 2.5 meters wide, the width, 2.5 meters wide, 2.6 meters for goods vehicles that are 12,000 kgs or more. Abnormal loads require permission from traffic authorities. Any fitted brackets is 150 millimeters beyond the vehicle's widest part. Okay. And that's it here, my friends. And then the safety markings, loads that project 150 millimeters or more to the side of the vehicle must be marked with what? Daytime, 300 millimeters square red flag attached to each corner, front and rear of the load. At night, white reflectors on each corner on front, red reflectors at each corner at the rear, and yellow reflectors on the sides. And then loads less than 600 millimeters wide that project 300 millimeters or more beyond the rear of the vehicle must be marked with what? Daytime. A single 300 millimeter square red flag attached to the rear of the load. At night, white with one. It's supposed to be with one red reflector at the rear of the load. With one. Okay. Right. Now, let's cover the last part. Accidents. In the event of an accident involving a vehicle, person, animal, or property, stop the vehicle immediately, check for any injuries, provide any assistance where possible to the injured, provide your name, address of the vehicle owner and vehicle registration number, report the accident to the police within 24 hours. This is what you need to do. It's 24 hours, not 24 days. 24 hours. Okay. Right. And then, in the event of someone being killed during the accident, call the emergency services immediately Ensure that all vehicles involved are not moved without a traffic officer's authorization, unless the vehicles are blocking the road or standing in a way to cause potential danger. Only after their positions have been marked on the road's surface. Reckless, negligence, or inconsiderate driving. You may not drive in a manner that disregards the safety of the other road users or property. Simple and straightforward. Intoxicating liquor and narcotic drugs. No person shall drive a motor vehicle on a public road while concentration of alcohol in a person's body is this: 0.05 grams per 100 mils of blood or more, 0.02 grams per 100 mils of blood or more in case of a professional driver. When we talk of a professional driver, we're talking about someone with a PDP. PDP. That's what qualifies you. That is the professional driver's permit. Okay. All right. It was great having the session with you guys. I hope you have learned, and I hope that you have also subscribed. Make sure that you visit the video over and over if you need more clarity. All right. So from me to you, see you in the next session. Bye.